Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Once again, it is time for my client Lewis's vlog, and we started the week off with a floor press. Again, a lift I like to do for max effort for a lot of my lifters, and of course, even though he's trimming down right now, we are obviously still doing conjugate. It's been a bit of a fight for him, so I'm trying to adjust his volumes and movements a little bit, block to block, because of the fact that, again, he has been struggling a bit while cutting. And again, this is expected to some extent. And I think, as we discussed in the previous vlog, it was the case of, even though me as a coach, and this is something I think coaches have to remember when dealing with clients. Me as a coach, I wanted him to, maybe just lean bulk further from here. But again, he's a young guy. He bulked a little too fast, admitted he bulked faster than he should have, faster than my recommendations, and that happens, extremely, extremely common with young men, and I see that many times. It's a learning lesson they have to go through. I'm generally of the opinion that nice, very, very slow, very steady bulks are the way to go, right? I don't want guys gaining, 10 pounds in 1 month out of nowhere. In fact, I'll go so far as to say as 5 is too much. It's just way too much. Right, at that sort of point, you're gaining mostly body fat. Right, you're gaining mostly body fat, and it shouldn't be necessary for us to gain, large amounts of body fat to gain muscle, unless you're starting from being really ripped. Right, guys who diet down real ripped, who want to make gains and they're drug free, they're going to have to gain quite a bit of body fat. But if you're not walking around with abs already, we can bulk with very, very little body fat gain, for most lifters, right? Within reason. Again, we just do it slow and steady. But in his case, well, as I said before, we've discussed it and we've come to the conclusion that he's going to adhere to the bulk more if he gets down leaner and leaner. So, we're looking at cutting for, another couple of months, continuing to trim his body fat down to a point to where, as he said, and as he explained to me, and we discussed it in detail in a call, of he wants to be at a point where he's happy enough with his body fat that he can bulk long term without fear of stopping in the middle of it and saying, oh man, I need to do another cut. And that's perfectly reasonable. And here's the thing, again, as a coach, you always have to remember, you've got to meet your clients and your lifters and your athletes where they are. Okay, it's one thing when you're coaching someone to be a world champion, in some way. There can be no deviation. They have to listen to everything you do as a coach because they've already set a goal. But with your more Gen Pop clients, we're dealing with a lot of other factors. In his case, he does want to look better. And some of the angles, he looks leaner than others. Obviously, this is a very unflattering angle, but it brings home the point of, him saying, look, I want to be leaner than this in order to feel comfortable in my skin, and I think a lot of people out there can relate to that. And that is the struggle when it comes to gaining muscle and doing this stuff. People don't understand that sometimes what they want is a very, very long-term process. They see some influencer somewhere or some, someone who's been doing this a long time, and they say, well, that's where I want to be. And then you have to tell them, hey, that person is 10 years, 15 years into their journey in many cases. In some cases, even longer. Do you see where we're going with that? So you're looking at a long, long process. That's a person who, may have spent just their muscle gaining portion a decade getting to that point. A decade of their life could have been dedicated to muscle building with cuts in between, right? So that's oftentimes where they are. And again, we have to be aware of these things. And I think that's, again, what all of you out there have to understand when you're on your own journey. You take someone like Lewis, much sooner in his journey, and he's got a long way to go. And there's going to be points where you're going to have give and take. because there's going to be a lot of time spent gaining muscle than other times dedicated to losing body fat, to working on these different things to have the muscle and the strength and everything that you want to have and the body composition that you want to have. And I will sometimes talk about, hey, delaying gratification. And we have to do that, but then we step back in the case of where he's at. He's like, I want to get leaner. I messed up earlier, and I'm going to have to pay the price for it. I've got to cut. I'm going to have to spend more time losing body fat to be comfortable in my skin. And I, as a coach, can accept that. Particularly when I have a lifter like this who, is they've owned up to that mistake. Said, look, this is where I messed up. I actually even got too fat before I came back and rehired you, and I'm paying a price for it. It's like, okay, so we own up to it. We know how it happened. We know why it happened. So then we get a game plan and we move forward, right? We move forward. And in the meantime, I'm going to, obviously, while he's trimming down, we're going to continue to focus upon maximizing muscle and strength in the gym the best that we can, right? The best that we can. And keeping in mind, recovery is going to be a fight for him. A lot of people say, well, healthy young men shouldn't be. Well, you're right, but he's also has had some medical issues that we've had to deal with and work around. So these things can complicate the matter, okay? Being in a calorie deficit, working around some medical history and some struggles there. Recovery overall can be a problem. It's a fight. So we're always playing a balancing act there with this, right? Always playing a balancing act. Figure out how much volume, how much intensity, all those things can he tolerate in a deficit, without any setbacks. And again, that's a big part of what coaching is about. It's fatigue management. That's the one thing, I get asked the most is, what does coaching really consist of? And I think most coaches out there agree. Once we have our basic programming down, we have our basic movement patterns down, it's really fatigue management, isn't it? That's really an enormous chunk of our work, fatigue management. But fatigue management doesn't just include workload in the gym. It can include getting your lifter's head straight, having them in a place where their stress is mitigated. And in some cases, that means they're going to have to do different things in their bulking and cutting. They may need to get their head space straight, may need to spend some time getting leaner. They may need to spend some time working on different things. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.